Hey y'all, welcome back. Thank you for coming back to spend time with me. If this is your first time, welcome and thank you for taking the time to stop by. I am so happy that each and every one of you are here today. I wanted to share with y'all what I was doing in Bible study today and what I got out of my time in the Word today. So I'm reading 1 Samuel, and today I was on chapter 4, and it has been acknowledged that Samuel is a prophet of the Lord. So now people know Samuel is a prophet of the Lord. Well, the Israelites decide that they're going to go fight against the Philistines. They've already been at battle with the Philistines for a long time. I believe since it's been like a war since the whole issue with Samson and what happened with Samson. It's kind of been worse, but I could be wrong. If I am, you can correct me. But they decide they're going to go fight the Philistines. Okay, so they fight the Philistines defeat them. Then they're questioning why God didn't protect them or bring them through this. And they think, well, we didn't have the Ark of the Covenant of God with us, so all we have to do is bring the Ark of the Covenant of God here and he'll be with us, and then we'll be able to win this battle. So they get the Ark of the Covenant of God, they bring it there, then they go to fight the Philistines again, and the Philistines defeat them again. This is where Eli's 2 sons are killed. Well, I was reading in chapter 2, and the Lord had spoke to Samuel, and he had told him that Eli's 2 sons would die in the same day. So this is how that happened during this battle. So they have this battle, they lose this battle, and then what's left of the Israelites, they flee, run off. One man runs back to Shiloh where he is talking of this. Eli overhears it. Eli asks him what has happened. Eli is old in age. I believe it says he's like 98 years old, and his eyes are dim, so he can't really see what's going on, so he needs people to explain things to him so he can hear it. So the man explains that his 2 sons have been killed in battle. I'm sure Eli was upset by that. But then when the man tells him that the Ark of the Covenant of God has been taken, this is what really does it for him. And this is the worst news that he could ever hear. So he ends up falling back, breaking his neck, and he dies. Now he has a daughter-in-law. His daughter-in-law is pregnant. She goes to give birth. She gives birth, and when she's about to pass away during childbirth, she names her child Ichabod, because she says the glory has departed from Israel because the Ark of God has been captured. And then again she acknowledges, so it's said twice, the glory of God has departed from Israel, for the Ark of God has been captured. So that's, to me, was important to know, because she names her child that, then she says it, and then reiterates the glory has departed. Now, when I'm doing my Bible study and I'm reading it and I'm underlining things that, again, stand out to me. Or when I write, what I write is what I got out of the scripture. And what I got out of this was that Samuel has been recognized as a prophet of the Lord. After the Israelite people hear this, they go to stand against the Philistines, whom they have been having battles with. When they go to fight, they don't seek God first, and the Philistines defeat them. They think it's because they don't have the ark of God, so they go get it and bring it to themselves. The Philistines hear of this and are worried because they have heard what God has done. But they stand strong and go fight the Israelites, and when they defeat them this time, they also take the Ark of the Covenant. Eli hears that his sons have been killed, but when he hears the Ark had been taken, he falls, breaks his neck, and dies. His daughter-in-law hears of what has happened to her husband and father-in-law, goes to give birth. Before she dies, names the son Ichabod, acknowledging the glory has departed from Israel. That is what I got out of what I read. And so I write it down the way I understand it. Now, what I want to discuss related to this chapter is, have you ever been in a situation where you thought you knew what needed to happen, and you thought that, and in that situation, you knew how it needed to happen? And let's say God has done something for you a month ago. He brought you through something. You were able to overcome a situation. He provided something for you. You stepped out and did something you don't normally do, and he made a way for that. So he did that for you. And then you come along and you see the same type of situation, and you're like, oh, I was in this situation, or I had to do this a month ago, or 6 months ago, or a year ago, and I remember that I was able to get through that. And you see the shift right there? I was able to get through that. Not, I remember God brought me through that. So you're thinking, oh, I was able to get through that. I'll just do then, or I'll just do now what I did then. And so you're going and you're doing these things, and nothing is changing. There's no relief for whatever you're going through. It's just like the same situation over and over again. Well, let's say that you were in a situation 2 or 3 months ago where you were having issues with someone, and there was strife between the two of you, or if not strife, just misunderstanding between the two of you. And God lays it on your heart what you need to do and how you need to approach the situation. So you do that, and everything works out. God makes a way. You might not be buddy friends, but you have a mutual understanding. You can be civil to one another now when you're together. And then let's say now you're in that same type of situation, and you're like, oh, I remember what happened then. I'll just do what I did then. And see, that's where we get our lines confused, because rather than remembering that God guided us and he made a way for us, he spoke to us and told us what we needed to do, we just go into, I'll fix it because I remember what I did then, so I'll do the same thing this time and I'll fix this situation. But God wasn't in it. You didn't seek God before approaching the situation with this person, because this person's a different person. It's not the same person that it was a couple months ago. So you go into that situation, you approach it the same way, and then you're like, well, that didn't work the way I expected it to work. That didn't go the way I planned for it to go. And yes, I'm emphasizing the I every time I say it. So then you're like, well, it's probably because I didn't go to church and pray about it. So then you go to church and you pray about it, but then you're like, okay, God, this is what I need to do. This is what I want to do. I want to make this right, and this is how it needs to happen. So you're telling God what needs to be happening rather than seeking him for guidance. And so then you go back to the same situation and you try it again, and it still doesn't work. And this time, because of the way you approach the situation, because that's a person, so they may read the way you come to them in a different way than the way you're actually approaching them. And so now you have just made the situation worse. So before, when there may have been a little strife between the two of you, now there is animosity and there's anger and there's resentment. There's not just like the clashing of ideas or not agreeing on things. I mean, there's anger and resentment now. And you cannot figure out for anything why come this situation did not work out the same way it did the last time. It's because I decided to do things on my own. I decided that I would just go and tell God what I was going to do rather than seek his guidance in what I needed to do. I was approaching this situation as if it was the same as the last situation. I didn't seek God and wait for him to give me the answer or the path to take or the words to speak. I met with God to tell him what I was planning on doing and not taking into consideration if he was going to be in that plan. I believe sometimes we get ourselves into situations because we see how things worked out in the past and we try to apply that blueprint to the same situation without seeking God first, because God could want to work through you in a different way for this situation, not the same way. Or he might want to do it in a different time. Or he might want a different person to approach that situation, and you just put yourself in that place. And that's what I think happened with the Israelites. They just assumed that because God had done all this for them in the past, that they were going to get on their high horse and they were going to go fight the Philistines and they were just going to win against them because they had God and that's what counted. Yes, they had God. But were they seeking God? And they believed that, oh, we don't have the ark, so we need the ark here. We need this thing here with us so that we can win. They didn't think about we need God with us. We need God in the situation so that we can win. Their thought was, we just need the ark here. And if the ark's here, then we will be able to defeat them. But it's not about what you have related to God. It's about that relationship. It's about stopping and spending time with God. It's not about how many times you go to church. It's not how many times you go to a women's Bible group. It's not about how many times you read the Bible or how long you read the Bible. Those are all important to our walk. But the most important is having that relationship with God, seeking his guidance, seeking wisdom. Just because God made a way for you to do something at this point in time doesn't mean that's how he wants it done in this point in time. And we need to seek him and seek his guidance before we take steps to do things, because when it comes to other people, it's not only affecting us, but it's affecting them. And it can affect the way they see us as Christians, and it can affect the way they see God. And I never want to be a stumbling block for someone. I never want to affect the way they see God in a negative way. So the way we approach people, we have to be careful, and we need to make sure that we're seeking God and getting guidance from God before we take that step, because we can take that step because that's what we want to do and that will make us feel better for doing that thing. But they may not be ready for that, or the way we approach it might not be the right way, and there's somebody better that can approach it in a way that will help them grow and open their eyes and to seeing who God is. But if we're not being obedient to God, we're not walking in his will, we can, out of a good place, approach that person like, oh, we're going to make a change in their life and we're going to speak this into them and that into them. But God's not in that plan. That's something you have chosen to do on your own, and it can affect them, because then they'll think, well, if this is the God you serve and this is what he's allowing you to do, and then that gives them a negative view or outlook on Christians and God, and it can leave a bad taste in people's mouth without you even trying, especially if they are someone who already doesn't really believe in all of the Bible stuff, and it can leave a bad taste in their mouth. So we need to be careful, and we need to make sure that we are seeking God before we take those steps to do things, because the way he did it then doesn't mean that's the exact same way he's going to do it now. I'm not saying he won't do it. I'm not saying he won't make a way. I'm just saying there might be a different path that he has for this way. And I think that's what the Israelites ran into. They were so used to God always being there with them and protecting them whenever they would go to battle, that they just assumed that God's here. We have God. He's here. He's going to protect us during this battle. So we're just going to go to battle and fight, and he'll be with us. But they didn't ask God. They didn't seek God and ask God, is this what you want us to do? Is this the plan you have for us? What is it you want us to do? And so they just took it upon themselves to do what they felt they needed to do. And they ended up being defeated and losing the Ark of the Covenant of God, and the glory departed from them. All that to say, I really don't see how people can find the Bible boring, because things that happen in the Bible can be applied to our lives now. Because right now, we need to be careful how we approach situations and don't do things based on what we want or what we think is right. And just because I was able to talk to Betty Sue 3 months ago and have one-on-one conversations with her and was able to lead her to know Christ, does not mean that Bobby Joe here is going to be the same situation. It doesn't mean that I can approach Bobby Joe the same way that I approached Betty Sue, because they could be going through two completely different situations in their life. So the way you approach them is going to be different. So that's why we need to make sure that if we want to share the word of God with others, we want to lead others to know who God is so that they can have a relationship with him. We want to be representatives of him. We need to seek his guidance, and we need to make sure that we are listening to know, is this a situation I need to get involved with? And God, how do I handle this situation? Give me the tools that I need to approach the situation. Speak to me and give me the words that I need to speak to this person. Ask God to be in that situation, to be with you, but seek God. Don't just do it on your own, because there could be consequences to you deciding to do something on your own versus seeking God first to see if that's where you need to be going. So that's what I got out of my Bible study today. And like I said, I don't see how people can say it's boring, because it's old and it happened way back when. Because reading this reminded me, and this isn't the first time, but reading this reminded me of a situation that could happen today. And I've seen happen. I haven't been a part of them, but I've seen situations like this where somebody's helped a person and then they see somebody else and then they just run over there and put their 2 cents in the situation, and then the situation makes a hard left turn because that wasn't a situation they needed to be involved in, and they spoke some things that upset the person. They weren't trying to upset them, but it upset them. And then that person just went further away from wanting to know Jesus. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. I'm so happy that you guys were here with me today. If there are any questions about anything, feel free to let me know. Like I said, I want this to be a community that's like a family, so we can just go to one another with any questions or comments. But I also want this to be a safe place, no judgment, because not everybody is on the same path. Not everybody is walking at the same pace. So I want this to be a safe place. Oh, and by the way, I can't believe it's almost time for school to start back. I don't have to do a lot of back to school shopping because I homeschool my kids, but we have to pick up a few things and I have to buy curriculum. But I can't believe how close it is, and they already have school supplies out and everything, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So let me know if you're doing back to school shopping, and what is your favorite thing to shop for during back to school shopping, and do you like back to school shopping more than your kids do? Because me personally, I think I have more fun doing back to school shopping than my kids do. I have more fun picking out pens and highlighters, and like that's my thing, is like the pens, the highlighters, pencil bags, and stuff like that. I get notebooks if they're like really have like really cute designs or something on them, or if they're pink, or okay, this is gonna make me sound really young, Barbie. For the most part, I like the stationery pens, mainly pens and highlighters for the most part. But yeah, let me know, do you like back to school shopping more than your kids do? Because that was my favorite part when I was in school, was going and being able to pick out all my new stuff for the new school year. But yeah, let me know if you're going to be doing any back to school shopping, and what is your favorite thing to shop for during the back to school shopping season. And I will see all y'all guys next time. Bye.